Jeff Paterson joins the show, fresh off being at the rink. Jeff, first and foremost, Kevin Lankinen, tell me all about him. How is he as a person? What'd you like when you heard him talk today?
No, forget that. I want to talk about how quickly I drove home from the rink. Not quite at Quadrelli at the top of the Coquihalla Summit speed, but not far off, although it's tougher to do that in city driving. But day turned out to be a longer day than expected down at the rink. I didn't anticipate I'd be there for a bunch of hours, but that's the job. And so I stuck there. And we heard from Kevin Lankinen, and we heard from Teddy Blueger as well for the first time in this camp. He skated with a main group for the first time after being relegated to Group C in the non-contact jersey. He's out of the non-contact jersey, and we can talk about Blueger more. But Lankinen, he laughed. I mean, he flew in on Sunday from Helsinki. I just got back from Europe a couple of weeks ago, and took me the better part of a week to shake off jet lag. He admitted it had been a whirlwind and that, all these new faces and the new surroundings, but ultimately he's a hockey player and the rink is his comfort place. So I think he was happy to be out there in his first skate with the Vancouver Canucks this morning. He was part of the second group, the non-playing group that, most of the guys in the non-playing group are going to play tomorrow night in Abbotsford. And Rick Tocchet and the coaching staff, it was like back to Penticton. They had a dry scrape midway through. They went back out for a second session. And I thought, hang on, there's 5 games in 7 nights here. Why are you grinding all of these players, including Kevin Lankinen? But Lankinen talked about, he's got a long-standing relationship with Marco Terenius, the new goaltender coach. So I think that's going to ease the transition. Familiar faces, Kiefer Sherwood, obviously last year in Nashville, Pia Suter as a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think that helps too. When you walk into a locker room, at least you have a couple of points of reference in guys that have been there if you need to go. Sherwood's new, but Suter's been around. So, if you need a little bit of help and, hey, what does that door on the left mean around here at the rink? Just, little things, whatever the case, he's trying to find his bearings. He didn't have a timeline in terms of how much time he would need around the group to be ready to play games, but they play tonight and tomorrow night. I don't think you're going to see Kevin Lankinen get into either of the games here. And then there's a day off Thursday for the group to catch their breath collectively. And maybe by Friday, they play Friday and Saturday out on the road. So I would think by the weekend, we'd get a look at Kevin Lankinen. I tried to press him a little bit on, was he getting nervous and anxious as camps were starting around the National Hockey League and he was back home in Helsinki. He talked about actually being at ease, and I think that's because he knew that he had this Canucks contract in his back pocket. Maybe didn't love the term, but he knew that it was on the table. He wouldn't get into details about other options around the National Hockey League, just the fact that the Canucks had been talking to him and his agent through the summer months, and ultimately it got down, push came to shove here. Canucks had a need, and he talked about trying to fit in and integrate. Knows that Thatcher Demko is one of the best in the biz when he's healthy and on his game, but he's not around. And so, it's a little different. Last year, he came to camp in Nashville knowing that he was the backup, without doubt. UC Saros was going to play a ton. Here, there's uncertainty about where people fall in the depth chart just because of the Demko situation. But no, Lankinen was very much as advertised. I had heard he was a likable guy, personable, outgoing, and even if he's fighting jet lag, big smile on his face as he stood there and talked to the media for the first time here in Vancouver today.
JPat, all eyes are going to be on Jonathan Lekkerimäki. People are going to be excited to see him play. What did you make of his camp and in scrimmage? Do you think he's got a legit shot to make the team if he has a strong preseason?
I'm coming around to the idea that it is a legitimate option here, an opportunity for him at the very least. I thought he had a decent camp. I love the fact that Canucks put him in a position to succeed right away with Paterson and DeBrusk and right through the scrimmage. I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of people in my mentions, who stood out at camp, and it's 3 days of drills. I think some people sort of lose sight of that it really is hard to evaluate unless a player, and I'm not saying this about Lekkerimäki, but in terms of evaluation, unless a guy truly cannot keep up. There isn't the bag skate like there was under Travis where all eyes were on Olli Levy or Oliver Ekman-Larsson in his first go-round. And so you try to evaluate off the rush when they're doing 3-on-0s. It's more about being drawn to his shot. And without a doubt, he's got a big league shot. But I think we already knew that from his draft year, from the World Juniors, from his appearance at development camp. Guy can shoot the puck. And so for me, it was a question in the scrimmage of, was he going to be able to read off Paterson and DeBrusque? Where would he, how did he look in battles? Ice is smaller over here. So those goals of him peeling off the wing and stepping to the middle of the ice, smaller dimensions in North America, is he going to have the time and space? And I think we saw that's going to be a bit of a challenge and an adjustment for him. There was the 2-on-1 where DeBrusque came in on the left side holding the puck, and I was thinking, get it to Lekkerimäki. I want to see the shot. I don't care what Jake DeBrusque does. He's going to make the team, and he's going to score a bunch of goals. I want to see the Lekkerimäki shot. The pass came across a little too late at the back door, sort of a jam play. Didn't result in a goal, but that was sort of, when I jotted down notes from Lekkerimäki in the scrimmage, that was one of the few times that I truly noticed him. But look, this is a great opportunity. It's a different situation, obviously. Go through camp with Paterson and DeBrusque, and now you're playing with two other guys that you haven't skated with. They were in the other group. No chemistry formed, but Brock Boeser is a 40-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. Jonathan Lekkerimäki can learn a lot from Brock Boeser. Boeser was basically in his skates 6 and 8 years ago as a guy coming out of college and a high draft pick who, had a big shot and has developed his game, obviously, to the point now that he's a 40-goal guy. So, there'll be all eyes on Lekkerimäki. What a great opportunity for him, though, tonight to play at Rogers Arena in front of however many fans are there. But this is going to be the spotlight that he is under now that he is a member of the Canucks organization and trying to make the big league team. I still think it's a bit of a stretch for him, but the way that they've used him here for the first week of camp, I think it's an indication that this is an open audition for him.
Denton Heinen, he's not going to play with the guys that he spent most of camp with. Honestly, through camp, it kind of felt like that Heinen, Boeser, Miller trio was maybe the only line that we might actually see on opening night. Now I'd say that the Canucks have 0 lines that we'd see on opening night heading into this game. Any surprise? Like, I know Miller's not playing. Was there a reason given why Miller's not playing, or is it just?
I asked Rick. I said, was he supposed to play tonight? Because he was one of the poster boys, and Rick said, look, he was one of the best fitness testing guys in camp. JT doesn't need a ton of run in the preseason. He's been there and done that a bunch. So it almost sounded like a reward for the fitness testing and the leadership we saw in training camp. And no, I thought, okay, maybe he's got a bit of a knock or something that's going to keep him out of the lineup, but that didn't seem to be the case. So they're just going with some different looks. I talked to Heinen briefly. He said, look, I'm a veteran. I get it. Coaches have to look at different guys in different situations. Everybody's here because they're a good player. So, he didn't seem too worked up about the fact that he had been pulled away from Brock Boeser at the very least, who's in the lineup tonight. But Danton Heinen's going to skate on the line with Nils Amon and Linus Karlsson, two guys that I do think have something to show and to prove. It almost feels like Aatu Räty has bumped in front of a guy like Nils Amon. Now, it's the start of preseason, so a lot of this is still up in the air and can change. But Räty, given those same line mates that he had, and I know you guys talked about it earlier in the show, Rick Tocchet mentioned Räty this morning and said, everything he does, he attacks 100% to the point where he said this morning at the morning skate, I told him, save a little for tonight. So Tocchet said that his speed has increased, that he's noticed that the skating, and that's always been the knock on Räty since he was really drafted by the Islanders and his draft stock fell. Question of, can he keep up? I didn't notice, and you guys were there in camp as well. I was watching. I thought he was able to keep up. He's not a burner, and I think he'd be the first to tell you, but I didn't think his skating looked like he was holding him back at any point in the drills or the scrimmage. And so I think it's a bit of a reward for him to get those same line mates, Höglander and Garland. You know what you're going to get. Their motors are going to be running, and we'll see if Aatu Räty's motor can keep up in game action tonight.
When you look at this Canucks lineup for tonight's game, besides Räty and Lekkerimaki, who do you think has the most to try and prove in this game and really make an impression on this coaching staff?
You talked about Sammy Blais. I think in terms of short runways, it's Blais on a PTO. I think others, Vilmer Alriksson, I'm really excited to see him in an NHL environment. He had a good young stars. I thought we saw what we see a lot with junior age guys when you get to a main camp against players that have been doing this for a living for a while. That time and space that maybe was there in young stars, it's taken away. There were a couple of times the puck was on his stick, and before he could process and make a play, it was gone because somebody had closed on him. And so, the fact that he made the first round of cuts and he's getting to suit up in a NHL preseason game, I think that's a bone that the Canucks wanted to throw. to this guy, so I'm going to watch him, but the stakes aren't as high. He's going back to junior. We know that. The defenseman, Elias Paterson, I guess, so we have to get used to the distinction. He is Elias, by the way. I agree with everything you guys said about him in the scrimmage, that there were just moments. There was a play where, and I think it was Hronek, because he was paired with Hronek, ripped the pass across the blue line, and D-Petey tried to take it in his skates. And you see NHL veterans make that play and either, kick it up to their stick or just control the puck. Puck bounced off his skate right to the other team, and away they went and broke it out. And, it's one play, it's a little thing, but it's just sort of those subtle nuances around the game where if people thought that D-Petey was going to be the surprise and make the Vancouver Canucks out of camp, clearly you misread sort of the writing on the wall here. This is a 20-year-old that needs to adjust and adapt to life in the National Hockey, in North America, the smaller rink. He needs a year down in Abbotsford, but I'm excited to see him play tonight and see what he looks like. So, I think Sammy Blais is at the top of my list. I think Amon and Carlson to a lesser degree, because it's getting a little crunchy now around that 13th forward spot with all the guys that are battling, and who knows what the Canucks are going to do if they, are going to manipulate the roster the way. Are they going to hold 23 guys? Are they going to have 3 goalies? If they have 3 goalies, that means that you're not going to have the full complement elsewhere. So I don't think it's a lock that guys like Nils Amon and Linus Carlson certainly can't take their spots here for granted. So I would say, even if it's night 1 in the preseason, that guys like that have a fair bit to prove and to play for.
Jeff, any other takeaways from training camp? Like, again, this is our first chance to talk to you. We're talking about preseason storylines heading into the year. Anything that stood out from training camp or heading into the preseason?
I thought it was a really well-run training camp, and I think the facility played a huge role in it. I mean, how many times did Rick Tocchet rave about 2 sheets of ice? And, they put those 2 sheets of ice to really good use. I don't think it'll be long before they go back to Penticton with the main camp. Young stars will continue, but I think the organization was really happy with the way training camp unfolded, the support, close to capacity on Sunday. People showed up for all the sessions leading up to the Sunday scrimmage as well. And to be able to stack young stars in training camp and keep, the training staff and the equipment guys and everybody there in one spot for a couple of weeks, just an awful lot to like about training camp in Penticton. And I think from a media standpoint, we all enjoyed our time there as well. So I'd be happy to go back to Penticton if they choose to have training camp there again sometime soon. Otherwise, goaltending was an issue, but obviously they addressed that with the Lankinen signing. So I feel a little bit better about their goaltending situation. Silovs was terrific in the Sunday scrimmage, the 20 minutes that he played. Interesting, in the second group of the day today that skated at Rogers Arena, Rick Tocchet's warned us not to read into too much, but Lekkerimaki playing tonight. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow night, but Kiefer Sherwood was on the line with Elias Paterson and Jake DeBrusk. So we'll see if that's a way that they go tomorrow night in Abbotsford. We know that Petey and DeBrusk have been the poster boys on social, Quinn Hughes as well. So we're expecting that those guys will play. They're not playing tonight, but thought it was interesting at the very least that Kiefer Sherwood had stepped into that spot on the right side at practice today.
Tomorrow, the Canucks are going to announce that none of them are playing because they all did really well on fitness testing. Jeff, you said that you would go back to Penticton. Would you ride back with me?
Yeah, I mean, for all the talk leading in that there were some questions about your driving skills, and Harm was part of the happy carpool on the way up, although he abandoned us. I don't know, maybe got a better offer. Was Drance a better offer? Anyways, you made it home. That's good. But it was just me and Dave on the ride back. And our cruising speed, we made pretty good time. And that was despite, a little bit of rain as we climbed to the summit there on the coat coming out of Penticton. So, yes, you did a nice job. Car was clean. It was comfortable. Spacious and roomy. So yeah, all things considered, I enjoyed I love training camp. I love all the storylines that emerge. And yeah, it's just good to be back around hockey, and it was fun to carpool with you guys. Yes.
Well, one last one from me, JPat. Just thinking about the 12 forward slots, do you think the Canucks, once Dakota Joshua comes back, can realistically have both Sprong and Lekkerimaki in the lineup? Or do you think that they're almost going to end up contending for one sort of role / lineup slot as this, one-dimensional sniper type role that you might have to shelter a bit?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that both of those guys would make the team, and that really would take some manipulating lower in the lineup, I suppose. And that's why, it's there for Lekkerimaki. Like, I think it's a legitimate audition here, but I also think that he would have to blow the doors off the organization, knowing that they can send him down to Abbotsford, and really he probably needs a year of development. But, let's see what he does. This is a goal scorer. I do think that he would have to score in the preseason. It's not enough just to look good and win some puck battles. Ultimately, I think there would have to be a bottom line that would almost make the organization think, like, we can't deny this young guy an opportunity here, where Sprong has done it before. And, I'm kind of curious to see Sprong's deployment. He's not going to play tonight, but maybe we get a look at him in Abbotsford. Who does he play? How do they use him? The other thing, and it's preseason, and we dive deep into the minutia, but I thought it was fascinating when they lined up and did power play stuff today. Obviously not their top end power play guys, but Brock Besser was taking faceoffs on his strong side as a right shot guy. So something to watch if it happens tonight through the preseason. Is it something that they would look at without right shot centers on the line, through the lineup and on the depth chart? Just a little wrinkle that we hadn't seen. So Brock taking some faceoffs there. But yeah, I think it's an uphill battle for Lekkerimäki, but I'm here for it. I want to see him. And it's been a while since the Canucks have sort of had, a blue chip prospect that we've all been hungering to see him do well. We'll see if it starts tonight for Jonathan Lekkerimäki playing with Pia Suter and Brock Besser.
Contract year, Brock Besser announces that he can play center. He said, "Yeah, put me at center." That's what
exactly.
Actually
we talk about him rounding out all the things he can do. He's added face. Well, look, there wasn't really a defensive center to contest. They were sort of just dropping the puck, and he was taking the face off. So he'll have he'll have some opposition tonight. I would assume that somebody on the Kraken will put up a bit of a fight if, in fact, that's the way things shake down. But right off the top, Dave, I heard you. It is game day. This is fun. This is exciting. We've kind of plowed through the offseason to get to this point, and even though it's exhibition action, it's still guys in Canucks uniforms playing games. So I got all sorts of time for it, and 5 games in 7 nights. Just really quickly on Teddy Blueger, he talked about the fact that he wouldn't get into details about what it is exactly that he had done. Another case where he looked at the PR staff when he was asked a question about the specifics of his injury. So the players clearly know the drill of what they're supposed to talk about and what they can't divulge. But he did say that it was something that was nagging him at the end of last year. He had hoped that he could just rehab it in the offseason, but it got to a point where a medical procedure was required. And so now he's trying to catch up. He skated, he said, 3 of the 4 days in Penticton. He said he took the Saturday off, but otherwise he was on the ice there with the main group today, out of a non-contact jersey. But with 5 games in 7 nights here, like, if he is still a week away, there go 5 of the 6 preseason games. So he said he wasn't making any promises. He hoped that he could get into the final preseason game. And remember, this is a guy that got injured in the final preseason game last year and missed the first 15 games of the season. So had a bit of a tough end of the preseason last year. It's been a tough start for him, but he is confident. Said it a couple of times. He's confident regardless whether he gets into preseason action, he'll be good to go on October the 9th.
Jeff, good stuff as always. Thanks so much for joining us, and appreciate the kind comments about my driving.
All right. Maybe you're going to the game tonight. I was going to say maybe I can get a ride, but I'll see you guys at the rink regardless. We'll worry about carpooling again somewhere down the line. Always fun being on with you. We'll talk to you again soon.
There he is, Jeff Paterson, our pal over at Rinkwide Vancouver. Make sure you go check him out. Every Canucks game through the regular season. I believe Jeff told me they were doing 4 in the preseason. So if you haven't already, go to your podcast, wherever you go, YouTube, whatever it is, go subscribe to Rinkwide Vancouver, turn on notifications, and then you'll have the best in market post-game show available to you as it drops when it drops.